For the second week in a row, we are going to try the dumbest thing, the stupidest idea that we have had in a long, long time. Nick and I bounce around a lot of ideas to each other. This was truly the worst, and so we thought we'd just roll with it. Nick, how are you tonight, sir?
Doing wonderful, Michael. Thank you. Thank you for asking, and I know you care a lot, so I appreciate that.
So, sorry. Can I ask you a personal question?
No, but go ahead.
During this whole thing, you have you been like in your house, like by yourself for a month?
No, I've got family close by, so I have not been by myself the entire time, but most of the time, yes.
Yeah, I can't. Okay, my sisters are doing a party and the kids are coming out, and I have so many feelings about this. Okay, I'm like super panicky. I want to stay inside, but my wife thinks that going to Target is date night. So I do have to admit we've gone to Target more than we should have. Before we get started with your very awesome questions, we got a lot of really great questions this week that I'm going to do my best to share with you, and we'll see if we can do the technology such that it actually works. Before we do, I want to show you guys something.
Cute.
My daughter ordered The Child for me back in before Christmas, and I finally just received it. Now, what they said about The Mandalorian was that they knew this was going to be a big hit. They knew it was so adorable, and everybody knew it was going to become internet memes. And so they didn't create any toys, not because they're stupid, but because they're so smart.
It doesn't fit. I don't know. I don't think that's accurate.
I saw Trump yesterday when asked about his thing about drinking bleach. He said the reporter said, "Why would you tell people to drink, to ingest bleach?" And he said, "Well, I was just putting it out. It was a sarcastic question. I was just putting it out there to out reporters like you who would ask me." So it was like a double gotcha. So that's what The Mandalorian was doing, was a double gotcha. And I have to tell you, I asked my daughter, I'm really anxious about opening this thing because I want to open it. But I when I was a kid, I was born in 1978. I think the first Star Wars was 77. I was born in 78, and my mom got me the full first year toy collection. Later, when I was like 34, she got on to me for having played with those toys and not saved them and become rich. So I got in trouble for playing with my toys. So this will probably stay in the box because I'm dealing with decades of mom issues. So what I want to do tonight, Nick, if we can, hi Shreya.
Shreya.
What I want to do tonight, if we can, is we put out to the world, can you guys ask us some questions about anything you guys want to talk about, and people delivered. I am looking all over my screen right now at all the questions. We have a lot of really bad questions, and some of them good questions to which we will give bad advice. So do you have any personal news or industry news you want to share before I start giving you the opportunity to say dumb things?
No, I think, with this number of questions that we have and the number of people who are watching, and also if Disney Plus would like to, sponsor the show,
go watch The Mandalorian, pay us more. Yeah,
and pay us some money. That would be great. But no, we've got so many great questions. Some of them are industry related that I think we'll just jump into the questions.
Well, then
tonight.
Let's go. So first, I want to ask you Eric Pelton's question. He said, if you had to pick one garden tool for the apocalypse, sledgehammer, axe, pickaxe, or something else, what would you pick? Now, I'm going to assume this is a zombie apocalypse because that's what you do. That's the only thing that matters. What would you use in a zombie apocalypse, something from your garage that you think needs to come out?
Yeah, it's a great question, Eric. I appreciate it. Very, very solid thinking on this. I went a little bit different on this one, Mike. I went with wheelbarrow. Felt like you might get, in a zombie apocalypse, you may need to head over to Target, as you discussed earlier. You might need to load up on some stuff, and grab that, throw it in the wheelbarrow. It's already there. You could also move an injured party around. I also went direct to zombie apocalypse like you. And I feel like, with these two weapons right here, I don't need a pickaxe.
Was that a dance move? I don't. If the
These.
zombies come, oh, I got you. My first thought when I read this was, if I'm in Rick's group, I'm looking for a hearing aid in the garage because, like, how do they not hear these guys coming? It's amazing. But I did a quick search. I want to share my screen with you guys. I did a quick search for weapons that you would want in the zombie apocalypse, and this was my favorite. For some reason, this guy who created this site thinks that you need a hidden sword cane, that you need to do all Blind Fury, Rutger Hauer show up with a hidden sword cane, because otherwise the Walking Dead will perceive you coming with a batleth or something. So it's got to be sly. It's got to be totally sly. So I guess that's my answer, is a hidden sword cane.
I think it's just having a hidden sword cane is just a good idea anyway, because it's cool. Yeah.
It has to happen. All right, next question. Paul brings it to us. He wants to know, what is your favorite chili cook-off ingredient? Are you a chili person?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
What's your... we're going to say favorite, but I want left field. What do you... Just terrible advice. Give me some
left field.
Really bad advice.
Left field, I'm just going to go with powdered sugar. You said terrible advice. That's terrible advice. Now, if you want a legitimate answer, I think it needs more jalapeno.
Would it be racially insensitive for me to call you a terrorist?
It would be, but again, until 2015, I was just a white guy, and then they started, then they started changing it, and all of a sudden, my Middle East side became its own.
You get all the privilege plus terrorist accusations, so that's super cool. So I got to tell you, I made a chili the other day, a Cuban chili with plantains in it, that was one of the most amazing things that I've ever eaten. And my wife sort of got on to me about it, because when we were early in our marriage and she decided she wanted to try to cook some things, she decided to make a red sauce, a spaghetti, like a pasta red sauce, and wanted to get creative, a little MasterChef-y before there was MasterChef. And so she put bananas.
Yeah.
In the pasta sauce,
which is just awful. I mean, I love her, I adore your wife, but this is terrible.
It's one of the truly worst ideas that I've ever heard. So I want to say that I did the very sitcom, romantic comedy husband thing and ate it, and I was like, this is really good. But I did not do that. I told her, let me give you some pointers. And from that day on, I never had her make dinner again, and I haven't had sex since then. So thank you, Paul, for that excellent question. I want to get to Shelley's question, because
we should also thank I see Shreya, Jason Velez, and Ryan McKean are watching us. So thank you for watching live.
So Shelley's question, I think, is really important. Shelley Woodard asked, any advice, and my wife just said, and this is why he cooks, by the way. Shelley asked, any advice on getting a pet to pee in my spouse's office rather than mine? Okay, so I'm gathering from this next situation is they've got a puppy, they've got a dog, maybe it's a child who continues, rather than peeing in her office, she's peeing in Shelley's office instead of the husband's office. So what do you say? Any guidance on pet relations?
So I think this is a fun one. You can have some fun with this, Shelley. I think for the next week, starting tomorrow, I'd like you and your husband to switch locations, switch offices. The dog is clearly more attached to you, and when you do something that the dog does not like, it goes to the bathroom there. So switch offices for a while, get her used to it, and when she goes to the bathroom in your husband's office, give her a treat.
I think Jason Velez just made fun of me for using my clip on here. Okay, that's a habit, because otherwise this touches my shirt, but I'm actually using this microphone, so it's really stupid that I did that. Thank you, Jason, for the pro tip. Now our aesthetics are totally right. Yeah.
Right.
So I had thought about this one. Shelley, here's where I think your issue is. Your dog or your child, whichever it is not very bright. And this animal does not know that your husband's office is the pee room. So the only solution is for you to go in there, pop a squat, and release. Let the animal know that this is a place where you pee. I will say I shared that advice with my wife, and what she said, because she actually knows things about dogs, she said, here's the issue. There's two possible issues, and then she offered a great solution. She said, one is, this dog may hate you, And so the dog is trying to just undermine you and put you in your place and pee in your space. The other is the dog may think of you as the person who actually gets stuff done at the house. And so the dog thinks if she can warn you, right? Of it, so if the cats in our house were sick or something, they would pee near Nicole because she's the person who actually does stuff around here. So either this animal hates you or thinks you're the only competent soul in the house. Nicole's advice was this. What you want to do is next time the dog pees in your office, take your husband's favorite shirt, wipe it all around in the pee, and then go place that shirt in his office. That will make the dog feel like that's the territory that's marked. I don't know why my wife said it had to be his favorite shirt, and I feel like she's trying to tell me something.
Yeah,
so, there's the advice.
First of all, this is not Nicole's show, even though she titled it. So that was a really long description for Nicole.
Stuff, yeah.
Yeah, and second of all, I feel like she has tested this on your shirts in your office. Either way, Shelley, more treats for the dog when you get it to go to the bathroom in your husband's office.
The good news is I don't fit in any of the shirts that I used to wear 3 weeks ago, if we're being honest. So really, she can use whatever shirt she wants because I'm done with them. So this is a really important question. Carol asks, will the love of my life, whoever it is, take me seriously if he knows that I'm a twerking dancer?
Yeah.
This question is horrific, but I can tell, Nick, from the way you usually lounge in your leather chair, that you're probably a very sensual dancer. So how do you cope?
I've done my share of twerking, and I've had exes take me seriously because of it, Michael. But yeah, I don't think that this is going to be a problem for Carol in the future. I don't see how this will come back to bite her in any sort of a negative way. I think this is something that most future lovers would be fond of. They would enjoy this, and I know that you spend a good deal of time twerking in your past, Mike, and you turned out just fine.
This image is not leaving my brain ever. Carol also asked in a follow-up question, as a professional, how do I get people to take me seriously when on the side I'm also a model and an influencer? Carol, we see you. We don't know the answer, but we see you.
And it's also a problem that we both have, Mike.
I mean, obviously.
Yeah.
So Ryan asks a legitimate question, so I have I've got nothing for this. Is it ever appropriate to date your ex's sibling? What do you think, Nick?
Yeah, this one's just pure fun for the whole family. I don't think there's any reason not to do this, Ryan. If the sibling is okay with it, you just got to wonder what's going on in that family. And then it's really going to make Thanksgiving exciting.
I just had the Ferris Bueller, so that's how it is in that family. Yeah.
Exactly. So, and it's going to make Thanksgiving so much fun to be around, especially if you spent the previous Thanksgiving with this family. And then you are, again, just in a new capacity.
Can I tell you
lots of fun for everybody?
Can I tell you a super quick case law story, like a case that we had story?
I can't wait.
So we had a case where there was one guy with 2 families, right? So there were multiple and we represented one of the moms, right? Because they've got kids and trying to figure out the custody situation with the dad. Well, we had this young lady who worked for us. She was about 22 or something from New Jersey. And she comes in worked up a bit and she says to us, what's going on with the Amory case? And Angela and I were both like, sorry, what's the Amory case? And she said, Polly. We had a polyamory case, and she thought there was someone named Polly, last name Amory.
Interesting.
So the future is going to be fine. Speaking of relationship advice, Jess asked the question, a good friend of mine just got out of a 10-year relationship a year ago. Recently, she met a guy. After 3 months of dating, she wants him to move in with her. She even put his name on her building's wait list. What do you think?
Yeah, so this one was I didn't get it because I don't live in one of those big cities like he's got to be on the wait list to get into her apartment, or he's going to
Yeah.
have his own apartment. I don't know. But depending on age, I kind of thought to myself, if you dig him and you just got out of something, what the hell? Go for it.
I do think it's interesting that the problem you had with this question, the thing that just didn't ring true for you, was not this person's ability to have
Yeah,
multiple healthy relationships,
right.
but it was how does the apartment situation work?
Yeah,
I will
why
say,
does that work that way?
our terrible advice, Nicole and I, we met and we got engaged in about a week and a half. We married like 3 months later. We started having kids right after that. So it's worked out. I think the lesson from our experience is move fast if you're a virgin. Then it'll work out.
Yeah, excellent advice. I gave similar advice to what I think Jess was looking for to one of my friends who met somebody in like 3 or 4 weeks. They're moved in together, and I was like, you got to slow it down. They're married. They moved to South Carolina. They're living life. They're doing just fine. So in the end, what my advice would have been to slow it down, but they're doing just fine. And so go
So
for it.
I'm going to shift to an Italy story because this is relevant, which is basically in Italy, they did some research because the average couple was staying, like living together for 8 years before they decided to get married. And they did a bunch of research about it and it basically showed the longer you live together, actually, the more likely you are to get divorced. I don't know what that means. I don't know why that is. But speaking of Italy, my friend Shreya asked what I think is a pretty important question because
All of these questions are important, Mike.
fair enough. But this one's about food. So
Yeah, you're right. This one's more important.
good call. So she said, I have a follow up. Can I put chickpeas in a minestrone or does it then become something else? What is a minestrone? So Nick, I'm going to share my screen real quick because
Please do.
I didn't know the answer to this. And also I have raging insecurity. And so I wanted to prove to you guys that I can speak Italian or at least use Google Translate to go find this answer. So I found this article and it legitimately answers the question. What is this heading is what is the difference between a zuppa and a minestra? And then at the bottom, it asks about what's a minestrone. So I'm going to show you the Google Translate version. Here's the issue. If you look up at the top, it says the minestrone is halfway between soup and soup. So you couldn't count on Google Translate for this, but the answer is the difference between a zuppa and a minestrone and a minestra is does the soup get soaked up in some bread, right? Zuppa goes with bread. It doesn't have another pasta, and Italians don't like to eat pasta with pasta, like bread with pasta, and so they would never put use bread with pasta or rice in the soup. So that's what makes it a minestra, is does it have not bread soaking up liquid, does it have another starch in there? And then what this tells you is the only difference between a minestra and a minestrone is, are you using the crap, right? The minestrone is you trying to get rid of vegetables, nasty stuff. It points out down here that if you have nasty vegetables that should not be eaten by human beings, you can still throw them in a minestrone and let it stew for a long time. But in answer to your question, it does say yes, use beans, use whatever you got. If you're just dumping stuff in from your pantry, it's officially a minestrone. Now you know.
That's I actually like that. That's a great question, Trey, and I like the answer because I've always enjoyed a minestrone, and now I know where it comes from. Just getting rid of stuff.
It really disturbs me when you support my answers. Okay, next one. Law Cuts asked the question, which I don't know. I didn't know what Law Cuts was. But they said this is like an actual work, like an adult question.
I
so
know.
We're going to do our best.
But I appreciate it.
They said, what's the most important lessons from your first few years in legal tech? Nick, what do you got?
Long sales cycle. Get used to it.
Yeah, long sales cycle, but you're living in a VC world where everything's supposed to happen super fast. So it's a really confusing place. I will also say, as regards to legal tech, there's a big difference between technology that's supposed to support lawyers and technology that has a legal purpose that goes out and supports consumers. It tends to be that what drives me nuts with legal tech is a lot of companies will take a good solution then make it crappy and call it For Lawyers and then push it out. That super drives me nuts. The other thing that I've noticed about legal tech, by the way, is that if
your answers are so long, very long.
I'm super important. This is my show. It's under my. Why don't you shut
But
that?
your show, who owns the
Eric Pelton. I did not protect my trademark, and Nick stole it. Is what happened today. But yeah, I did. I don't even know what I was going to say now, but it was going to be super good, and you killed it. So I hate you. So let's just get to the next question.
Go to the next question.
So that was Law Cut. So I want. This is a subject I think you and I know a lot about. It's hair. It's people asking, about hair care. Cat Moon asked the question, tell me how to stop the 18-year-old blonde from dyeing her hair gargoyle gray. Any comments on hair, Nick?
I think if you've got it, dye it however you want. Do what you want. Do what you want with it. And I don't know what gargoyle gray is. I'm picturing like a gargoyle up on
Do you remember the cartoons Gargoyles? Yeah. Oh my gosh, it came out like at the same time as the super cool Batman, and Gargoyles was on right after that. It was a great show. But yeah, it's like Gun.
You're older than I am. You're older than I am.
By how much?
Like 12 months or something.
I always tell my wife, who's a year and a half older than me, that she's an old lady, and she's officially right now 2 years older than me, which is not how math works.
She was robbing the cradle.
Listen, Kat, I've got a kid with purple hair and another kid with blue hair. I'm no help on this. You're screwed. Let it go. It's the apocalypse. I braid my back hair just to use what I've got, okay? If she can do this, you let her go.
Yeah, let her do what she wants with the when she's got hair to flaunt.
Have you ever been outside before?
Me?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh.
I was outside for like 2 hours today. It was awful.
You've gone out? Yeah. Okay. Well, so Jess asked the question, JC, which is her man. JC wants to know what's the best way to build a campfire. Have you ever done this before?
No. God, no. Why would somebody do that? I just assume gasoline or lighter fluid.
Yeah, I don't really understand the purpose in camping. It makes me really nervous. I want to tell you another story, but you're just going to make fun of me for how long it is.
It's already too long, I can tell. Have you ever made a campfire yourself?
Oh my gosh, totally. So, okay, here's the story. So my daughter Maya and I, she wants to go camping for her birthday, and we were living in Rockport down on the coast in Texas at the time, and so we decided to go out to Mustang Island, and we would camp on the beach. Well, by the time we got out there, it was super dark, and we had to set up a campfire. Well, the wind was blowing off of the beach like crazy, and so what I did was I dug a little bit of a trench in the sand, and I decided I would build up a fire, and it took forever because it was so windy, and once you dig down in the sand, you don't have oxygen. It was not going very well, but it eventually lit. And what I was trying to do was cook burgers, but the burgers, the fire was taking forever to get to the point that we could use it. And so I decided, let's go ahead and roast some marshmallows. I roast some marshmallows. I put it on the end of a stick. It's finally time to make the burgers. So I put my marshmallow behind me and stick it in the ground. And then I go to making the burgers. I put the burgers on. I'm sitting there. I'm flipping them out. I think everything's great. All of a sudden, something tapped me on the back. And while I'm holding a burger, I go, holy shit! And freaked out. And what it was, my daughter just starts dying laughing at me because I'm such a coward. What it was the marshmallow on the stick in the sand leaned forward and hit me. And now my daughter, however many years later this is, still makes fun of me for being afraid of marshmallows.
Excellent. And I like that you sped that up so that anybody who listens to this later on at 2x, it'll be even faster
Super
for them.
Jess, the appropriate answer here is using the pyramid technique. You put the kindling on the bottom and the bigger, and it works every time. I've built fires in crazy horizontal blowing wind and still created a fire. So that's the answer.
But honestly, if you got lighter fluid and a lighter.
Why even go out? What are you even doing outside in the first place? Yeah. All right. Shelley wants to know, this is a relevant question.
Uh-oh.
She wants to know what students should do. She said, how should law students spend their pandemic summer?
Oh, you know what? That's a very good question.
Not being paid.
Yeah, you're not going to be paid.
Not paid.
Which is, get used to that. Um, Probably reading some of what's on your 2L list. I'm just going for the generic answer here, right?
You're going to read.
Yeah. Prepare for your second year because that's always fun.
Totally.
I would say, yeah, you're reading and networking and try and enjoy yourself. If you're not going to be able to do a law clerk position or anything like that, or a summer associate gig for a while, just enjoy yourself.
What's so funny about that is I was invited on to Zoom into one of these law school classes, and they asked me for advice about what they should be doing. And I said, stop spending so much time reading your cases because nobody cares. You're faking it anyway. Go read a novel because it's more fun and will actually make you smarter. I gave terrible advice. I do want to share with you guys a resource. This is from the USA Today. It's 100 things to do while stuck inside due to a pandemic. And Nick, I'll share some of these with you, and you just let me know. Are you doing these kinds of things?
Let me hear it.
Complete a puzzle, start a journal or blog, start playing your instrument that you've put off for too long, text all your exes because that'll go well, write poetry, watch really long movies, download Duolingo. I'm just saying this list, assume this is me. If you were to do a before and after shot of like what I thought I was going to do during the pandemic versus what I actually did, this is the before.
Right. Yeah. So I've done, I think, one of those things. I think it was, what was the second one you read out?
Porn.
Well, yeah. Okay. Two of these things then. What was the second one?
It was start a journal or blog.
What was the first one?
It was to complete a puzzle.
Yeah, I've done the puzzle. I've done games. I've done puzzles. I've done.
That sounds so lonely.
Yeah, but I'm working. So I don't know. I think there's this group of people in the pandemic,
right,
that are not employed,
yep,
and which we've heard about, and I'm not having the experience that they're having. And
that's because we already knew how to curl up in a ball and be afraid about our life choices. Like this thing that everybody else is all coming to as like a total rookie. We've been doing this for a decade.
Yeah.
Okay.
We've had the sadness.
We've had crippling shame and guilt about our life choices for a long, long time, including whether to play with Star Wars toys. Thanks for bringing that up again, Shelley.
So I trust me. I'm grateful that I'm working. The one real answer I'll give right now is I'm grateful that we're busy and I'm working, and so I haven't had the free time that I think others have had, and I never thought that I would be grateful for that, but I am. That's all the honesty I'll share tonight.
I've been working a lot. I don't know about getting paid. So Jessica asks a question that neither of us has any competency to answer.
I'll answer.
Any advice on getting my 4-year-old to go poo in the loo consistently?
Yeah, great question. I've had a lot of experience with this. I've had zero experience with this. But what I will say is this brings us back to Shelley's question earlier, and I think treats are involved.
Bribery, yeah.
The animals, the kids, I go for treating them about the same, and offer treats.
Yeah, I mean, my only response to this is whatever you decide to do, make sure that they wash their hands for 20 seconds afterwards. I don't care if they leave you a special gift in the living room. You take that child into the bathroom and you sing Row, Row, Row Your Boat while they scrub under mildly temperate water, getting those germs off there. That's the most important thing.
I would also go for flushing and maybe encourage you flushing. That's, just because evidently there's a whole group of adults who don't understand that.
You people who have not gone into a men's restroom, you don't know what you're preparing these children for.
Yeah. Scary.
Shelley has a personal question, Nick.
Answers.
Are you still tormenting Shelley? The answer to your question, should she use her husband's favorite shirt? That's a click.
I don't see why you wouldn't at this point.
Why even ask the question? This is so obvious. Shelley Reed says, is Nick still tormenting the geese in his neighborhood?
Good question, Shelley. And I took a walk by where the goose, it's not geese, it's goose, I was by their locale today, and he wasn't there. First time during quarantine that the single goose was not there, and so there was no tormenting of. It's really in reverse. The goose torments me
Do
more
you
than I
think,
torment it.
is this like the dog where either the goose sees you as a man threat or sees you?
Obviously, it sees me as a man threat. I mean,
Sure. Well,
as manly as
I've
I
also
am.
heard animals can perceive fear, and it reminds me of the Galaxy Quest scene where like the little injured alien shows up, and then all the other aliens turn into evil aliens and they eat him. So
Hmm.
maybe the thing just sees you as the injured gazelle.
It probably is the predator in this situation.
Barry had an actual useful question, which is
Does he?
sort of killing the theme, maybe, but we can still
Yeah,
give
I
bad
think he says he
advice.
hasn't had a job in 37 years, so he's used to winging it. So he's just, yeah, way to make us all feel well good, Barry.
He
Thanks.
knows things. He said, "Do you think courts that have had to suddenly use some virtual tech stuff will keep much of it and leap forward, or will they seek to revert ASAP to primitive?"
I fear the actual answer to this. I fear that they will go back to. I want them to adopt what they're using right now, but I fear that they will return to primitive. That's my cautious optimism.
Here's the question as an aside. Will this last long enough that they'll question whether to do hearings in courts, certain things that we do through courts that probably shouldn't be there at all? Or is this just going to be long enough that they'll still keep using Zoom to do the dumb things that they were doing before? To me, that is the real question.
I actually think that's the real answer. The longer this goes on, the better it is for courts to adopt technology that they've since avoided.
I'm a little concerned. Before we get to our last question, Shelley Woodard jumped in and said, "My husband would like to know if you have any advice on obtaining divorces while the courts are closed."
Do I have advice on it?
She's asking if we can help her husband learn about getting divorces right now. I don't want to
you
be
shouldn't
part of
ask that.
Yeah, I don't want to be part of
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
I'm gonna stay. I'm gonna stay.
But yeah,
I'm gonna stay way the hell away from that. So let's
yeah,
go to our final question
it's
quickly.
uncomfortable. Hey, but Shelley, you might, if you've been around for the whole 30 minutes, go back to that question we had about dating the siblings, and maybe it works out.
You're a creeper. So
I'm
Shreya,
a bad person.
for our final question of the day, asks, "What is the best way to fill up my evening and keep the existential dread at bay when all of the TV shows run out?"
Strangely enough, I saw this question in advance when we were at Clio last year with Shreya. This question was already in her eyes back then, the existential dread. It's sad, Shreya. I can see this being a concern. It's one that I have, and I know Mike has as well. What are we going to do? Because Hollywood isn't producing anything new right now. Cartoons. Go into anime after this.
Gargoyles. Go find gargoyles. I have rewatched Chuck, by the way. The cool thing about these content things is you can go back and watch them again. But I will say the only correct answer to this question is stress eating. So this is Cadbury Shimmer eggs because they ran out of the regular ones, and this makes me poop glitter. So Jessica, to your question, you might want to make sure that you get glitter in the poop, and then they'll be excited when it goes in the loo. That's our advice.
Quite the callback there.
Yeah,
I
see
like
how I
that.
lift it all together?
Yeah,
I'm a
you're very
professional.
nice.
That's why
Yeah.
you can trust Ask Twinsies for all of the terrible advice needs that you have in your life. Make sure to tune in next week to ignore everything that we say. By the way, I posted earlier to a Slack group that we were having this conversation. We were doing this stupidity, and somebody said this seems to require a super awesome. Jessica just said there's already glitter in the poop, and now there's like a whole backstory. Anyway, he said this probably requires a really great disclaimer. I'm going to tell you the disclaimer right now. If you follow any of the advice that we give, you're an idiot and you get what you deserve, not your lawyer.
I can't even practice. So take my advice if you'd like.
Nick, thank you. I hope that this week, while you are alone and working on puzzles, that you will continue to practice your twerking skills because the world needs it. Have a good night, everybody.
Good night, all.